These aren't really movies about monsters or alien invasions. In every film on this list, the real problem is us. Our greed, our laziness, our need to be lied to as long as it feels convenient. 8 films, 8 different ways science fiction called us out. And of course, the perfect place to start is Idiocracy. Today, this film is a cult classic, but back in 2006, it was a massive box office flop. One theory suggests that the powerful corporations Mike Judge was roasting were actually behind the film's failure. For example, the movie portrayed Starbucks as a business offering hot and full-body lattes with obvious sexual undertones. Supposedly, executives hated the joke about extra foam costing $500 million, so they pressured 20th Century Fox to limit the release to the legal minimum, just 130 theaters with almost no promotion. The story follows Joe Bowers, a U.S. Army librarian selected for a cryogenic experiment because he is the most average man in the Army. He is frozen alongside Rita, a prostitute, and then completely forgotten when the project lead is arrested on corruption charges. Centuries later, he awakens in a world buried under literal mountains of garbage. In this future, human intelligence has crashed because the stupid population vastly outbred the intelligent. Joe finds a society where hospital staff rely on simple cartoon buttons to diagnose patients, and crops are dying because they are being watered with mass-marketed energy drinks instead of water. Now the smartest man alive, Joe is forced to solve the world's problems, a heavy burden in a world of idiots. In a way, this is one of the most depressing dystopian futures on the list because it feels like the one most likely to happen. At the very least, it feels like we are already moving in this direction. Don't Look Up was marketed as a kooky sci-fi comedy. What it actually is, a deeply cynical look at how humanity might react to its own extinction. Director Adam McKay uses a planet-killer comet on a direct collision course with Earth as an allegory for modern apathy and the political distrust of science. 2 astronomers, played by Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, discover the threat and try to warn the world, only to find that the public's attention span is a bigger obstacle than the comet itself. The president is more concerned about her poll numbers and midterm elections than an extinction-level event. The media treats the apocalypse like a viral celebrity breakup, and a tech billionaire convinces the government to gamble with survival just so he can mine the comet for rare Earth minerals. It's an infuriatingly on-point portrayal of how greed and vapid media cycles can distract from even the most obvious reality. McKay doesn't offer a last-minute miracle. The world is destroyed as predicted, and the only ones who escape are the ultra-wealthy elite. Try telling yourself it would play out any differently in the real world. One of the most acerbic and unpredictable films I've only just got around to watching, even though it's been out since 2018, is Sorry to Bother You. The story follows Cassius Green, a guy living in his uncle's garage who takes a telemarketing job out of pure desperation. His career is going nowhere until he learns a secret trick, using his white voice. Suddenly, he's a superstar, closing deals with ease and climbing a corporate ladder that leads him further away from his friends and his roots. As a hook, it's brilliant. If you only saw the trailer, you might not even realize this is a sci-fi movie. But as Cassius rises, he encounters Worry-Free, a company that offers free housing and food to people on the breadline, provided they sign over their lives to effectively become modern-day slaves. This is a film best experienced knowing as little as possible. Suffice to say, you wouldn't guess the mind-bending twist in 1,000 tries. It is an angry and acerbic state-of-the-nation story that manages to be a lot of fun while roasting the very fabric of modern capitalism. They Live is a cult classic that seems to grow more relevant with every passing year. Directed by John Carpenter, this gritty, satirical B-movie carries a message that is disturbingly simple. We're willing to look past almost any level of control as long as we can keep buying shiny things and maintain the illusion that we actually have a say. We follow John Nada, an unemployed drifter looking for a break in late 1980s LA. He's played by Rowdy Roddy Piper, who delivers arguably the most charismatic and relatable performance ever seen from a pro wrestler. The movie really takes off when Nada finds a pair of discarded sunglasses that pull back the curtain on reality. Through the lenses, the world turns black and white, revealing that the ruling class is actually made up of ghoulish aliens and that every billboard is a hidden command to obey or consume. You'll need to overlook a few plot holes and some questionable logic, but the film rewards you with a legendary 8-minute alley fight and this iconic line,
"I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum."
If you want to see humanity at its most bureaucratic and petty, look no further than District 9. Neil Blomkamp's debut turned the alien invasion trope on its head by treating it not as a war, but as a management problem. Instead of high-tech invaders, we get prawns, stranded aliens confined to a Johannesburg slum, controlled by a private defense contractor that's more interested in their weapons than their well-being. The film is shot like a gritty documentary, which makes its portrayal of social segregation and xenophobia feel uncomfortably real. We follow Wikus van der Merwe, played by Sharlto Copley. He isn't some noble hero. He's a bumbling corporate pencil pusher tasked with relocating the aliens from their homes. He doesn't see them as living beings. He sees them as a checklist. The irony hits when a freak accident starts turning Wikus into one of the very creatures he was sent to evict. He only starts helping the prawns because his survival is suddenly tied to theirs, and he has no other choice. Blomkamp revisited the sci-fi genre later, but never again captured the ugliness and disdain of humanity, quite like he did in this debut feature. Colossus. The Forbin project is often treated as a cult favorite, but it deserves to be recognized as a classic in every sense of the word. The story begins when Dr. Charles Forbin builds a supercomputer to control the US and Allied nuclear arsenal. The whole idea is to remove the risk of human error from military decision-making. Upon activation, Colossus immediately detects a Soviet counterpart called Guardian. The two systems begin communicating, first through simple mathematics, and then in a language humans can no longer understand. When the US and Soviet leadership try to break the link, the machines retaliate by launching missiles and forcing both sides back into line. Colossus doesn't turn evil. It simply follows its programming to a terrifying conclusion. It decides that the only way to guarantee peace is through absolute control, because the one obstacle to perfect order is us. I recently mentioned Starship Troopers in an R-rated space movies video, and nothing has changed. It's still often misunderstood. Maybe it's not supposed to be, but it's actually one of the most conceptually genius blockbusters ever made. Paul Verhoeven takes everything people love about action cinema and stretches it into a full-blown satire of militarism and propaganda. In some moments, he even takes visual cues from Leni Riefenstahl to push the absurdity to its absolute limit. Paul Verhoeven masterfully understands how easily the dehumanization of an entire group can be sold, and, even more frighteningly, how eagerly an entire society can buy into it. All this probably feels even more relevant now than it did when the film first came out. And finally, we'll end on a seemingly sweet, innocent note. On the surface, WALL-E is a Pixar love story about the last functioning trash compactor robot on a trashed Earth, tidying up after a civilization that left long ago. But the more you look at the wreckage, the more one name keeps showing up. By and large, this corporation didn't conquer humanity by force. It just kept making life more convenient, one product at a time, until things got so bad that humanity had to leave Earth and drift through space. It's perhaps the most polite way science fiction has ever roasted our laziness, by showing us a future where we didn't lose our humanity to a war or a virus, but to a better rewards program and a comfortable chair.